You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Alaska Republicans ignore Trump denunciation, based on an article by James Brooks, Alaska Beacon. Alaska Republicans say mail voting is fraud, then they mail ballot forms anyway. The actual power here. The source story is not really about absentee ballot percentages. It is about organized political power doing what organized political power does, pushing turnout where it helps and denouncing the same tool when it becomes useful for the other side. The Alaska Republican Party has mailed absentee ballot applications statewide since 1994, and it did so again this year even as Donald Trump keeps branding mail voting cheating. That is the operative fact. The party that publicly attacks mail voting is still using the mail to move votes. The message and the machine. The mailer mattered more than the rhetoric. Alaska Republicans sent voters a partially complete absentee request form and told them to advance Republicans to the general election ballot. That is not a civics lesson. It is a turnout operation. The party is not confused about how voting by mail works. It understands perfectly well that mail access expands participation among people it thinks can be mobilized. That is why Trump's anti-mail voting crusade has always been propaganda first and principle never. When a tactic helps Republicans, they use it. When it might help Democrats, they call it fraud. The contradiction is not accidental. It is the strategy. The statistics are not the scandal. The article leans on party registration shares among absentee ballot requesters, but that is mostly a measure of political engagement, not a moral verdict on voting methods. Republicans were 28.5% of absentee requests through July 31 and 23.6% of registered voters. Democrats were 19.7% of requests and 11.6% of registration. Undeclared voters, who make up nearly half the electorate, were underrepresented among requesters. None of that reveals a clean ideological truth about mail voting. What it does reveal is that parties with stronger organizational habits can shape voter behavior. The real institution here is not voters in the abstract. It is the party apparatus using direct mail and ballot request forms to engineer participation. The frame is too small. The source treats this as a pattern worth observing, but it understates the political meaning of the contradiction. The Alaska GOP is not merely ignoring Trump's rhetoric. It is exposing it as disposable. Republican elites keep the anti-mail message from mobilization, intimidation, and suspicion while their own machinery continues to exploit absentee voting as a turnout tool. That is not inconsistency. It is a familiar authoritarian habit. Delegitimize the process in public while gaming it in private. The article also softens the Democratic side into symmetry by noting that Democrats generally support mail-in voting. That leaves out the sharper point. Democrats are not the ones waging a campaign to poison confidence in a voting method they themselves use. The Republicans are. The larger pattern. This story fits a broader pattern of anti-democratic politics in which the same actors who benefit from mass participation try to make that participation seem illegitimate. The public message is suspicion. The operational reality is access, turnout, and control. That gap is the point. The lesson is not that all parties are interchangeable. It is that one major party has built a politics of sabotage around institutions it cannot openly discard. Mail voting is one more example. Denounce it as corrupt, use it when advantageous, and keep the public arguing about process instead of power. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Kuzal. Thanks for listening.